understand me, because obviously being from Australia, my accent is a little bit different. But I will just quickly tell you about myself. I did have, my background is in nutrition, and I learned a lot through that. And very quickly I learned that we didn't need to eat animal protein in order for us to be healthy. In fact, the body seemed to benefit from a green-based diet and all the legumes and beans. And once you go into veganism, the diet that is out there is extremely large, and you need to research and have all those foods. But by doing that, you become a lot healthier and stronger, and our immunity goes up. And we find that we don't get sick as much anymore. And I am talking about veganism here, because being vegetarian, you still consume quite a bit of animal protein, especially with the cheeses. We all like cheese. But it's that makes the difference. If you cut out all animal protein, you find your body can really be what it's meant to be. And you'll lose weight, you'll have a glow, and you have more energy. And that basically goes because a plant-based diet is easy for our body to digest, and that is where it comes down to. That's it. Anything besides that is hard for our body to digest. So therefore, our immunity goes down, and we struggle. Having said that, I do talk about the holistic nutrition, and that is the body, the mind, and the soul. I think the three are very much related to each other, because we can be as healthy as we like and exercise, but if our mind is sour, then there's no way you can have a healthy, happy body. When our thoughts are negative, or we really need to be positive. And it's very important to wake up every morning and be grateful for that day. And see your struggles not as a struggle, but as an opportunity to grow. Because we only do grow in times of struggle and times of sadness and hurt and pain. They are the times that makes us grow. When everything is honky donkey, is that how that's the one. When everything is fantastic, we don't grow. We should really appreciate those times in between where things are kind to us. But spiritually, mentally, physically, we actually do not grow unless we are being challenged. And nobody likes a challenge. But it's when it comes on your path, have a different outlook. Just go, right, what am I meant to learn here? Now, when you take that outlook, what happens is your connections with your higher self, whatever you want to call it, but I call it my higher self, those connections strengthen, because we are here on earth to learn. And so if we stay stuck and we don't want to learn, those connections just stay stuck. So if we have heartache and we learn our lessons, it opens us up. It is character building. It really is character building. So what happens once those connections open up to our higher self, it gives us a chance to listen for lessons. I always say when we pray, we talk to God, but when we meditate, we actually listen to God. And that is what you also want to do. So I don't know how good you guys are with meditation. It's a hard thing to do. You fall asleep, most of us. I do. In fact, today my prayer was to become better at meditation. But I do a really simple little meditation. And it's good to teach our children this one, and our grandchildren. And that's basically, I put my left hand on my heart, and my right hand on my tummy. And what I do is, I say that all is well in my world. And especially I start with my right hand on my tummy, because our stomach has a lot to deal with. All our stresses and our pains and heartaches, it knocks it up in our stomach, and we stop digesting. The saying goes, I've got a knot in my stomach, and you don't feel hungry. Our pains also are in our stomach. So when we put our hand there and we say, all is well in my world, you actually feel your stomach relax and go, ah. And it needs that love. So I think of that, and I have a smiley face. I love putting a smiley face in there. And once that is really strong, I transport that feeling to my heart. And my heart is also in big need of some happiness, because that is where our truth lies. Our heart is in direct connection with our higher self, and only in truth will it tell us the real reason. I always say, the saying that goes, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. No, how's it go?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah? Yeah?
There's one other one in the middle.
There's three of them.
The truth, the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
Yeah.
You know what that stands for, in my opinion? The truth is the truth that we say when I see you down the street and you're like, hey, how you doing? And I say, good. And it is a truth. We are all good. The whole truth is the truth that we share with our loved ones, that in our inner circle, our best friends, our family, and our partner. That's the whole truth when we share how we feel with them. But nothing but the truth, that is the only truth that we know inside. And that is the truth that has the connection with our higher self. And that's the truth that really can do with some serious healing. So I also put a happy smile in my heart. And that feeling of happiness, I make it go around. And you do this for a few minutes. You can teach your children this, and it's simple. It's not really a meditation, but it is good enough for you to relax your body, to put some love in your heart, and just to sit and do nothing for a few minutes. So why this is important is because that is how our bodies work the very best. That's when we can deal with problems and obstacles, because our whole body is in balance. Now, I am a nutritionist, so I will talk about how that relates to our food. This body, mind and soul, how that relates to our food. Well, I don't know if you know about pH, but we are a pH of 7.4. It's at 0 to 14. And all our foods and our cells is in that range of 0 to 14. Now, as a human, we are 7.4. That means we are slightly alkaline, because anything from 7 to 14, we call it alkaline, and anything from 7 down to 0, that's acidic, right? So you're with me there? We know what we're talking about? Yeah. Being 7.4, it's very important that we remember this when we eat our foods, because if we eat foods that are in a similar alkaline area, our bodies doesn't need to take much energy to digest at all. In fact, it can just take the bits that it needs, and that's it. And we have enough energy left to do the things that we want to do during the day. What happens if we eat foods that are from 7 or say 6.5 and down? Because some of our foods that we are eating, and eating here tonight, they are in the acidity of 5. And our body wants to compensate for that, because it wants it back to being neutral at least, and preferably being 7.4. So the perfect diet, if there's such a thing, is we eat 80% alkaline food. 80%, it's a lot. And 20% acidity. But this is the tricky. The 20% acidity is divided up in 10% protein and 10% starch. Now, they are both acidic, and they both should be eaten with the alkaline food separately. We do not combine those foods, because our body again will struggle digesting it. It will make us bloated. It'll make you want to fall asleep after a meal, and we all know what that feels like. If we stick to those rules, that we have 80% of alkaline foods, and they are your greens and your salads and all your health food, yeah, Unfortunately, with our everyday diet, it's the other way around. We have at least 90% of acidity. If that, maybe even more. And only 5% alkaline. Alkaline is the apple we eat in between, our dinners, and how often do we have fruit these days? It makes our body struggle over and over and over again. So the other thing is the way we cook. Try to eat as much raw as possible. I would prefer at least 60%. I'm not a raw vegan, but I eat a lot of raw because cooked food, it doesn't have the amount of nutrition in it that raw food has. But if you're a raw vegan, you don't get to eat the beautiful brown rices and there is the absorption method, but I think we should really eat a really large variety of food, as much as we can. But have your 60% raw, 40% cooked, and I will never boil my food or microwave it. You put food in the microwave, that's foodless food. There is no nutrition left in it. Why? Because the heat is too high. Our vitamins and minerals can simply, they deteriorate, they get killed. So do not eat food unless it's popcorn and it's kind of junky anyway. Who cares? It's from the microwave. But food you're actually going to eat to nourish your body, do not let it come from the microwave. It hasn't got the nutrition in it. Now, what happens if we eat acidic food or junk food over and over and over again? That's when we become snotty, because it produces a lot of mucus in our body. We get the earaches, we get bronchitis, we get allergies, skin conditions, because our body wants to throw out all the toxins. It wants to clean itself. And therefore a plant-based diet helps because that cleanses the body. It helps the body to get rid of all the toxins, and therefore our skin looks better and we are generally better. There was something else. I will go back to that. It's okay. What happens to our hydrochloric acid? The hydrochloric acid we have in our stomach. We have about 4 liters of it. That needs to stay really, really strong because that is what digests our food. Now, the pH of that I think is about 4.2 when we're resting, and it goes down to 3 when we are digesting. Now, because it's so acidic, the stomach wall needs to stay very strong and healthy. And the way our body does that is by making it alkaline through sodium. Now, I don't mean sodium, the table salt. I don't mean that at all. I mean the sodium that are in foods like your parsley, your celery, or all your green stuff. Your okra is very high. I don't know if you guys have okra. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
My favorite thing in the world.
Unfortunately, we fry it.
Yes. Well, I don't fry
No.
mine. Okay.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Batter it and fry it.
Well, the sodium in those foods are really high, and it's that coats our stomach just beautifully. It keeps the stomach strong, it keeps the hydrochloric acid very healthy, and that's why it's so important for us to eat alkaline food. Because if we don't, what happens is our body will start to compensate because it's losing its alkalinity, and it needs sodium for our stomach to stay alkaline. So it takes it from our fingers, our elbows, our toes, and our knees. So what is that the cause of? When we say, well, I've got sore bones, or we've got arthritis or rheumatoids, pains in the joint, that is all that it is. It is an overload of the acidic foods that we've been eating. That is all that it is, and it is reversible. What we do is we have lots of green juices, green soups and salads, and we go back to a plant-based diet. The sodium in all those foods will gradually go back to our stomach, and if there is too much, it'll go back to our elbows and our fingers, and we become flexible again. Yeah? So we are a sodium animal, and it's really important to remember. I'm calling us an animal, I'm sorry, but our body, we are a sodium. Compare it to a cow. A cow is a calcium animal. It is very strong, and it's big, and it's stiff. If you have too much dairy protein, you become like that. You can see how people are stiff when they consume too much milk or milk products. Because that is made for a cow. The milk that comes, the milk that comes from the cow, it's made especially for calves. And calves need to be strong and stiff, and they graze. They just stand still and graze all day. So if we consume that, we become like that. And you can actually pick out the people who are big dairy consumers because they have sore fingers and they're a bit stiff, and they, compared it to a goat. A goat is also a sodium animal, like we are. Goats can jump, they can climb trees. They do, and they are flexible. The reason being is because they are made a sodium mammal, just like we are. And that's why it's so important for us to eat those foods. Now, I have a graph here. Can you see that? Chart. A chart. Very good. The red foods are acidic. The green foods are the alkaline foods. And the bit in between, that's neutral. So that would be about 7, just below and above. Now, when you look at the foods that are in here, this is basically what we eat day in, day out. And every now and then we eat this bit here. The thing is, the foods here is incredibly dense. The energy of these foods, or the vibration, is very dense in negativity. Yeah? I call it my death food. Like, it's your junk food, but it doesn't make you alive. These are your alive foods. You eat those, they're your alive sprouts and your salads. They are alive foods, and therefore we feel alive. These foods are, it's all your junk food, all the, you know it all. We all know what junk food is, isn't it? But it's also your breads. Your bread is in there, your pasta is in there. You think about it, we all love pasta, but what is pasta? Pasta is, it's flour and salt and water. I make glue out of that. Do you guys make glue out of that? For my children. Yeah. I say, let's just get the flour and water. So you're basically eating glue every time you're eating pasta. Now, if you really like pasta and you want to eat it, include as much of this, all your greens with it as possible, because it's that will push it all through. Yeah. In this area here is also your animal protein. Yeah. Animal protein is extremely dense as well. And not only that, it's also very acidic. Very acidic. Now, so if we want to be healthy, body, mind, and soul, how do you think our soul would go with these foods? Nobody judges. Absolutely not. We are all on our own journey, and we take our steps as it suits us. But really, if we want to grow and grow and grow and grow, how easy is that going to be if we eat death? Because we are basically eating death here. There's no life in these frequencies at all. When we eat these foods, we are alive and we experience that. And I think our higher selves are way more joyous because there is growth there. And it's also kinder. These foods are very kind. When I say to a person, be kind to yourself, because we need to be kind to ourselves, I mean, eat these foods. Don't eat these foods, because I think you're too good. Personally, how good do you feel And what do you think about yourself? Do you like yourself? Yeah, you do. So you should. So why eat something that is not going to honor you? Why? Yeah?
So what's a couple examples of the red foods?
All right. I will put it, well, veal. Okay. All your yogurts, veal, cheese, shrimp, lobster, mussels, and bacon. And then you've got all your cakes and cookies, chocolate, lollies, yeast, pizza, hot chips, nachos, onion rings. Oh, I love onion rings. Okay, no more onion rings for me. No, and look, it's what we do every day that matters. If you eat a balanced diet with lots of alkaline food, it doesn't matter if you every now and then eat this. It really doesn't. Your body can handle it. In fact, I think it's okay to challenge our body every now and then, because it will have to work hard to get rid of that, and it'll balance itself out. Some of the other foods, lasagna, hot dogs, meat pies, croissants, bagels, and canned food, all the canned foods. So there's some of the examples, but it's here for you to have a look at. Right, because if we want that connection with our higher self, and we are not being judged, but we know where these foods come from, we really have to know where our meats and dairy come from. We find a world that is full of, well, it's horrible. It's, you know, the animals are being tortured and they are unhappy, and that's where our foods come from. There is a reason why our abattoirs are outside the cities. There's a good reason for that, because we would not want to eat it if we knew what conditions our animals live in.
I'm sorry, did you just say our abattoir as in slaughterhouses?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
What do you call it? Slaughterhouse?
Slaughterhouses, yes. A little bit to the point, but
Well, I worked out that abattoir kind of stands for abortion, so it's kind of like the killing of.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's for a reason why it's outside
Right.
our towns. And the horrible thing is that when we film inside, now the law has been passed that if you film and you film abuse and you report it, it is you who will be liable. They changed the laws. We are not allowed to report any abuse anymore.
Oh, in Australia?
Well, we follow America. We follow
They
America.
did here, yeah.
Yeah, so I know it's here because we do every America, and then we're right there.
Whether it's bad or good.
Yeah. So I know the laws must have passed here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because we wouldn't have thought of it ourselves. Unfortunately. So the only way we can change the world, but for these animals who have their own soul and their own reason for being here, is to become vegan. And not only that, but be vocal about it. You don't need to be vocal about the killing of animals, but be vocal about eating healthier. Because people will, once they get on the journey of being healthier, they will find out about this. And they'll go, oh, hang on a minute, all the animals that I like eating are here. You know, because to push veganism down someone's throat, it's not a nice thing. We have to stay kind. We cannot judge. We must not judge. But we can talk about how to eat better. And if we eat better, we look better. And people say, wow, you look great. What do you do? And then that's an opening. You say, well, I'm vegan. And very quickly they'll go, okay, but you've planted a seed. And that's what we need to do. We need to plant seeds everywhere because this is spreading. I know our vegan club in Sydney, we have at least between 50 and 90 new members every week. Every week, people.
Wow.
You guys have like an office with the staff and everything.
No. No. In fact, we are panicking because we are growing so fast. But we do meetups with films, and we will show films and all that, and that's growing at an enormous rate. But that's all we need to do is spread the message where we can. Do it subtly, but don't push it. But the main thing is that we are healthy, because in health there is life. You know, my favorite saying is that those who are healthy have many, many wishes, and those who are sick just have one wish. And what's that? To be healthy. And so that's where it all comes down to. I think when we do this, we have the connection with our higher self, and we can do the meditation, and answers will come to us. And when you think about it, all those who have involved, you know, who are enlightened, they don't eat meat. How can you be a person of enlightenment while you're eating flesh? It doesn't make sense. You want to be enlightened, you want to grow, take the kind of path for yourself and for those around you. So, is there any questions on that, the alkalinity, before I...
Oh, the lemon in the morning
Right.
versus later in the
Yeah.
day.
In fact, that's a really good point. You know how we allow 20% acidity? Well, our nuts, not the almond nut, but the nuts, they are acidic. So that belongs in that category of acidic foods. Like our hamburgers are acidic, but they are not the kind of acidic foods I'm talking about. Lemons are clearly an acidic fruit. But when we have it in warm water, first thing in the morning, it actually turns our stomach alkaline. And the reason for that is that we haven't digested anything. It comes to our system, and our system is strong enough to take all the properties and turn it into alkaline. That is kind of the acidicness that I'm talking about. So lemon first thing in the morning, very good for you, very good to clean out your system. I don't do it periodically, like I'll do it for a couple of weeks, and then I give my body a break, because it takes the enamel off my teeth when I do too much. So, but get to know your body. Get to know what it can and cannot have. Recently, about 4 months ago, I gave up bread. I mean, I'm really enjoying that, but I gave up bread, and that is amazing. I read a book called Wheat Belly. This morning, Wayne Dyer was talking about that book. I read it, and it's amazing when we give up bread, how much energy, how good our body is. We lose weight, we don't feel bloated, and you think about it, what do we put on our bread? It's all crap, really.
Yeah.
Even our salad sandwich, it's got to have ham or cheese in it, or is it even organic? You're better off not having bread at all, but it's a slow process. And lean into it, flirt with the idea of giving up bread or giving up, meat or dairy. Just follow what's inside of you. And what's inside of you, you have to have that connection open. Yeah? And sorry, that was your question. I know you had a question.
Oh, it was along the same lines of acidic foods, and
Yes.
I can't think of very many salad dressing recipes that don't start with a combination of vinegars and lemon
Yes.
juice, and they all have that. So
I have no salad dressing. In fact, you learn to love really plain food. I was given a salad dressing that was made out of tahini and what was it? It was watered down tahini, and it was actually not bad. So go online, because I know it came from Google. But yeah, your vinegars, it's bad news. It really is bad news, because it is so acidic. It's not kind to our stomach at all, as nice as it is. And this is another thing. Acidic foods are very addictive. Our fats, our sugars, our salts, and our vinegars are very addictive. So that's why we get a taste for it. And that's why when we have to give it up, it's bland, and we're like, oh, it's too hard. Yes, it is. But what are you focusing on? Are you focusing on becoming the best that you can be? Or are you focusing on really nice meals? No, but are you focusing on what's going to not give you the best health in life? Yes?
I was wanting to wait till you finished, but I just wanted. Okay, you finished?
I am.
Yeah.
Well, because you have that chart, and I
Yes.
was wanting to know if that was available for distribution or if we could find it somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, it's charts very similar to this. You can find on Google, and you can print it, and it'll say, if you look up alkaline/acidic chart, this will come up, and they're all very, very similar. Sometimes there's discrepancies, like your tomato, and they say tomato is acidic. But if you eat a raw tomato is a beautiful fruit. And, sorry?
I love my tomatoes.
Yeah, so have them raw, but as soon as you put heat to it, it becomes extremely acidic. So you have to learn those rules as well. There are many, many rules, and that's why my favorite saying is stay fiercely curious, because in curiosity we find out things. We have the energy to research our foods. So yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So is apple cider vinegar just,
Again,
Just
apple
the
cider
same?
vinegar. I do that one first thing in the morning with warm water.
okay, so first thing in the morning, okay.
Yeah, I
There's-
do or my lemon or my apple cider vinegar.
But not both.
Not both, and not at the same time. Have a period where you do lemon and give that up after
Yeah.
a week
And then
or
do
two.
vinegar and then.
And then you do apple cider vinegar. Always make sure that it's organic and it's a small amount. Yeah? And also we activate our nuts with apple cider vinegar. Do we activate almonds here as well?
Well, we soak them.
Right, that's
In water,
activating them.
though.
That's
Yeah,
We
exactly
just do
right.
water.
I use water now as well. I was taught to use apple cider vinegar for that, and I found out it's because nothing can grow in apple cider vinegar. I'm like, no, I'm just going to do the water. It's kinder. But
Unfortunately,
yeah.
all the almonds are pasteurized here now.
Yeah, they radiate them.
You have to
Yeah.
work really hard to find truly raw almonds.
They're all radiated.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'll find the same. It's really hard.
Yeah.
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 But there is that movement, and you guys have Whole Foods. No, am I saying that right?
Yep.
Yep.
Oh my Lord, I'm in love with that shop. I was walking around, and I must have had 5 people come up to me and say, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "I'm in heaven." Leave me. And I just walked up and down. I did see all the meats, but okay, it's organic, and it's a step. Again, everything is a step. To be an ethical vegan is actually extremely hard. You just have to, take small steps. Yes, ma'am.
I heard about soaking almonds or any other nut like 24 hours.
Yes.
Would that help with the?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you
Enzymes.
what it does. It activates the nut. Because it's a nut, it actually starts sprouting. And that is, again, a live food. And that's what we want. If you have a look at the water is brown, and we rinse it. And so if you don't soak it overnight, you're actually digesting that as well, and you don't want to do that. So for that reason alone, all your nuts and seeds, just soak it and rinse it, because there is a lot of dirt there. Yeah, I believe the energy comes back into the let's say an almond once we have soaked it. Yeah, definitely, it's a good idea. I would not eat it just like that.
Again, not the irradiated ones.
Yeah,
Oh, boy.
I don't know. Have you tried soaking radiated ones?
Well, given that the only almonds we can get, I mean, like I said, if you want to get non-irradiated almonds, you've got to order them special online. I mean, I've heard about people who've posted messages on Facebook saying, "Hey, I'm going to put in an order. Who wants to get some with
Marie
me?"
does that.
Does Rita Marie do
Yeah,
that?
she has a certain company that you can be like in her little co-op thing, and
Yeah.
you can get
All right.
unradiated
Unradiated
stuff.
almonds, yeah. So I mean, I'm just
That's
saying, I
wonderful.
don't know, because I've never known anything different. So, or at least, I mean,
She's the only one I know of that does that.
yeah.
So
I just assumed that if you bought organic, it
Yes.
meant non-irradiated.
No, that's not true anymore.
No, because in the supermarket, everything that comes into a supermarket has to be radiated. So I don't know, like at Whole
I didn't
Foods,
know
whether it be radiated at Whole
I never
Foods.
heard that.
Yeah.
Everything?
Really?
Yeah. It was
I don't
I remember
think
like in
so.
2007, it was a really big deal because the people who were in the raw food movement
Yeah.
were like, we're not going to be able to have almonds anymore
Yeah.
because they just,
Exactly.
they won't you won't be able to get almonds that haven't been irradiated.
Yeah, 'cause
You know?
about 10 years ago, somebody got listeria
Yeah.
from them because the water source the trees were using was contaminated. So now they think
So that's
everybody's
why they do.
almonds are. So now the government says anything that's like almonds or seeds that you're going to eat without cooking, they make everybody irradiate it now.
It's just like how bad it is when they blame spinach or something for
Right.
an E. coli outbreak, and it's like, where do you think the E. coli came from?
Yeah.
You know, it was the farm next door with the cattle.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Sorry, did you have a
Yes, I
question?
wanted to ask you about the water, the
Yes.
pH of the water. I have heard certain waters are acidic and
They are.
others are with the pH balance alkaline.
Yes. Our natural rainwater is acidic, which is surprising, but it is. Our natural rainwater, if it's clean, it is acidic. You can buy alkaline water. I don't know, whether you guys can buy alkaline.
Well, I know that we've seen two kinds, deionized
Yes.
and reverse osmosis.
Okay.
Um,
I would, the higher the alkalinity of water, the better, in my opinion. This water would just be neutral, but it's made neutral with all the chemicals and whatever, so it comes out neutral. But fresh water is, or our rainwater is acidic. So I alkalize my water.
Do you have a special?
Yes, I do. Yeah,
Mm.
and
Is it called structured water?
I'm not familiar
Or
with that one.
alkaline.
It's called alkaline water, and it's called an alkaliner. The machine that it goes in, it comes out. It's expensive, but it's well worth it because we do drink so much water, and that's another thing. You know, 50 years ago we weren't told to drink 2 liters of water, and why was that? Because back then we didn't have all the junk food. We ate more natural food, and natural food has 70% water. When we feel hungry, it could be because we are actually thirsty. Our brain tells us, hey, eat something, because it knows in natural food it's got a high water content. Because of all the food we eat today with hardly any water in it, we now have to drink 2 liters of water. Whereas if you have your salads and your soups and your greens, there is, well, I don't know if there's no need for it, but there definitely is not that need for it. Yeah. But otherwise it's 2 liters, yeah.
You mentioned that for a human, it's the pH level is about a 7.4.
Yes.
And you also mentioned that the general population consumes 90% of acidic foods.
Yeah.
What's to say that the neutral zone of a human isn't being pulled down to a 7.4?
It's already,
because,
it used to be higher.
So how do you determine what it really should be? Because like water, for instance, a lot of even bottled water may come out as a 7 pH, but by the time you get it, it's a 5. And so what's to say that maybe our pH level should actually be higher if the
Yeah.
data is being collected from the general
totally
population?
agree.
And it's
I totally
pulled
agree.
down?
From the research that I've done, our pH is lowered naturally. It used to be 7.8, and now it's 7.4. And with our water, yeah, it's a tricky one because things also age with time and oxygen and light. So you can have like a really healthy salad, but you let it sit in your fridge for a day. It's also going to change. The pH is going to change with that as well. So what was your actual question?
Well, if the neutral zone is a 7.4, is that being pulled down because of the highly acidic intake? Would it not
Yes.
be possibly higher? And how is the pH level of the human body determined? How is that 7.4 concluded?
How do we know we are 7.4? You can have it tested. Yeah,
So that's
there is
just
different tested. Yeah, you can test your saliva, and you can test your urine, and you can even test your blood for that, and it will tell you exactly. But we are basically all 7.4. There is nobody that's higher or lower. In fact, when you get down to 6.8, that's when we die. In fact, the minute we die, our body turns acidic. Now, this is really interesting. Listen to this. So, the minute we die, naturally our body starts to become acidic, And the reason for that is because it wants to decompose. You've seen an animal decompose really quickly, like within 2 or 3 days it's gone. That's because it becomes so acidic. Now what's happening is, because we are eating so much acidic foods, our brain is going, right, it's time to break down. And that is how we age. That's how we start walking with the rounded back, and we become old, because the body is saying, hey, you're eating all this acidity, that is a sign for me that you're dead. Let's start breaking down.
Oh, you think that you might be the cause of Alzheimer's then? Even.
Absolutely. You know, Alzheimer's, you know, the cooking with aluminium, the canned food that we eat, you know, I always find it's not just one thing. It's lots of little things. Yeah? But I do find in my studies people who do cook with aluminium, who have a lot of canned food, they also eat a lot of acidic food. They don't tend to be the healthy ones. Because as soon as you want to go on the healthy path, you will find out that you can't cook with aluminium. You have to have stainless steel. You know, there is better pots and pans out there. Yeah. So yeah, Alzheimer's and a bad diet as well as the aluminium, not a good mix. Yeah.
Do you know your like pH level, or is that something you would want to reveal?
I'm very alkaline. I'm dark green when I pee on it. It's
So you can buy a test.
Yeah, absolutely.
The restaurant supply stores, I think they have the
Yeah,
pH.
Yeah, they have
you
pH
can buy
tests
Oh.
even in Walmart too.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, at Walmart they would definitely
Yeah.
have it, and you get yourself tested, but it changes all the time. But if you just have your health meals, you will become alkaline within like that, because we make new cells every single day. We make a whole new body, right, within a couple of months. You know, like not a whole new, like the skin, a couple of months, but within a year, you've built a whole new body. Now, if you eat those beautiful cupcakes, as gorgeous as they look, that is responsible for making your next cell. Now, do you want that cell to be healthy? Well, you can't eat that cupcake. Yeah? You think
So you have to
that's
think to
funny?
yourself when you're, well, I'm just
I wasn't
saying, I'm
trying.
going to go to have dessert. It's like, okay, now I'm going to make a cupcake cell. Tomorrow I'm going to make some spinach cells. Then I'm going to make some banana cells. But right now I'm making a cupcake cell.
And let me go back to what I was saying before. Everything, it's okay to have that cupcake every now and then. You know, it's just not every day. It is what we do every day. That is making our cells. Not that cupcake, unless you have cupcakes every day. Yeah.
So these things are reversible then?
Absolutely. Have we got time for me to tell a 5-minute story? It's a quick one.
Ask them.
Yeah, it's exactly on the lines that you just said. So I live in Australia, but I'm originally from Holland. And my grandmother, who lives in Holland, has come over to Australia at least 14 times. But I recently moved, and she, again, at the age of 88, wanted to see my new place. And my auntie over there went, your grandmother wants to go and see her. You know, we're worried. She's 88. She's old. She walks with a walker. I said, let her come. Let her come. So she did, and she stayed with me for 2 months. And my auntie said, look, I can't fly her back. I don't know how she's going to get back, but I can fly her to Australia. And then I've got to go back home. I said, fine, do that. And my grandmother used to be taller than me. And when I met her, when I saw her, she had aged so much in those 4 years that I had not seen her. But she was all benched, you know. Yeah, she was all like this, huddled over, and she had a walker, and she was old, and she looked up, and you know, I went, right, that's a big change. But anyway, my auntie sat down with me with a cuppa, and she said, I've got to tell you about your grandmother's medication. I said, okay, well, let me put my grandmother in front of the TV. And I said, Oma, that's Dutch for grandmother, Oma, what would you like to see on TV? And she said, do you have any André Rieu? Do you know André Rieu? He's he's a beautiful, he plays the violin, he's gorgeous. So I put on André Rieu, and she was happy sitting there, and my auntie went through the medication with me. It was a small suitcase full. My grandmother took 11 pills every day. She had about 4 that she took twice a week, and she had like 3 that she had once a week. She had morphine patches because she had broken her arm. And I, at the time, this is 2 years ago now, I had 30 years of naturopathy and nutrition behind me. And I'm looking at that going, right, is this what my grandmother is taking? And right, but I let my auntie talk because I knew she was going that night. Yeah, you see where this is going. So my auntie left, and I had to talk to my grandmother. And I don't know how I did it. I think it might have been her not being with it, but she agreed for me to take away all her medication, all of it. The only thing I allowed was her morphine patches because I didn't want her to be in pain. Little did I know that you get addicted to medication, because I've never had medication in my life. But she also had sleeping pills, and she was so addicted to it. She went through withdrawal symptoms. She became even violent and aggressive and angry, and I knew she was detoxing, so I just let it go. But in the meantime, I gave her lots of green juices, the chlorella and spirulina juices. Are you guys familiar with those? Just 3 times a day. She, in the beginning, forgot that she already had one. You know, and I would get like, here, Oma, here's some. I had to prove to myself. So she's passed now, so I'm sorry because you know, knowing what I did. But I had to prove to myself that it was reversible, because that is my teaching. You know, I know that's reversible. Well, that was my proof. I was going to say slowly but surely, but it wasn't slowly at all. Within 3 to 4 days, she became aware. And I have a breakfast bar, and I'll be making breakfast, and she'd be on the other side of the bar doing these. She'd be like doing those. And she'd be doing her legs. And she'd be like wanting to go for walks, and she was active, and she was just with it. And I think it was 2 weeks in, I could hear someone come down the hall to come to breakfast, and I thought it was one of my kids, because I didn't hear the clonk, shuffle, shuffle, clonk, you know, which is my grandmother. And she just walked towards me. And my husband was next to me, and we looked at each other, and I said, Oma, where is your walker? And she goes, what? Oh, that thing, I left it. She had actually forgotten that she had a walker, because she now could walk herself. She walked slow and not right up, but that did come later. But she felt so good that she had forgotten her walker. And that brings me to a point, you know, when you're sick and you vow never to drink as much alcohol and never to eat too much, and because we're sick, we make all those promises to ourselves. But the minute we become healthy, we forget our promises to ourselves. That is because it's natural for us to be healthy. We actually will forget that we had all those pains, and, you know, because it is natural for us to be vibrant and to be healthy. Now, my grandmother went as far to go, I've got a piano. She used to be an amazing pianist. Because her fingers were so stiff, she didn't even play piano anymore. She went back to that. She had not held a pen for 3 years because her fingers were too crooked. And she came to me in November, and she wrote all her own Christmas cards. All of them. So the difference was amazing. 2 months later, I will just tell you, the patch became too much for her. One day she walked and she went, oh, I'm dizzy. And I'm like, yeah, that's that patch. So I cut it in half, and that was perfect. Because her body was so clean, that morphine patch became too much for her. Yeah. So 2 months later, it was nearly time for her to go home. And because she was walking so much, she said, I want to go to see a podiatrist, you know, a foot, to have your feet done. Pedicure, is that what you, yeah?
Oh, pedicure.
And we're like, great. So I booked her in. I had never been to one, but I booked her in. And when we got to the place, it was on the first level, and there were 34 stairs. And my husband and I were like, are we going to carry her or what are we going to do? And she's like, no, I'll just walk. I'm like, okay, so I'm walking backwards. It was one of those stairs. My husband walked behind her like this, going. She walked up those stairs, she had her feet done, and she came down, and she didn't even think anything of it. In fact, it was actually quite, not disappointing, but it was like, she never kind of acknowledged how well she was doing, you know, it was kind of, yeah, I can do these things now. Right, when I packed her back to go home, I still had that suitcase full of her medication, which she had not had for 2 months. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to send it back with her, because this is proof to her doctor that she hasn't had it. So the morphine patches, everything. And she went on the plane by herself. Now from Australia to Holland, you do a 14-hour trip to Singapore, and then you have 3 hours at Singapore, and you have to find another plane, and then you fly, sorry, it's 7 hours and then 14 hours, and then you fly to Amsterdam. She did it all on her own, and she did it because her mental state was with it again. Now, I think a day later, I got a very nasty phone call from her doctor, who wasn't impressed with me at all. I didn't know, but it was kind of illegal what I did. It's kind of like, how can you do that? She could have died. I'm like, well, really, so what? You know, and he goes, how can you say that? I said, well, she wasn't alive the way she was. And it didn't harm her. I took it off her the first day she arrived, and it's now 2 months later. And he goes, you know, if you were in Holland, I would have sued you. And he was very, very angry with me. The sad thing is, he was also angry with my grandmother, and my grandmother went straight back on all the pills. It was really, really sad. So within 2 weeks, she was back to where she was. But I got my proof. I got my proof that it is indeed reversible by cleaning out the system. And she was in a lot of pain because she was addicted to sugar and fats. And she didn't get any of that from me. It was a lot of work for me, but I needed to prove that point. So if my 88-year-old grandmother can do this, I know we all can do this. Yeah. So that is my talk for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Hi. And so we can tell what's wrong with us because let's say we have a back injury and our back is there. It will show up as a dot or a different color in our eye. And the reason why I'm saying if we look in our eyes and we do have the apple cider vinegar or we have the lemon juice, because our bell is this area here, it turns dark blue very quickly. Now for those who have brown eyes, it will just look a lot cleaner. And so that's the difference. But if you learn to study your eye, you can see differences very quickly. And it's an amazing science, this. It's actually a real pity that our doctors don't study it, because let's say our back is out, it can give us asthma, because the blood supply, let's say, to our bronchioles is limited, and it gives us asthma. Now, if the doctors would know iridology, they would just pick it up straight away. They would say, well, have your back lined because it's restricting the blood flow to your bronchioles, rather than giving you the puffer for the rest of your life. So, yeah.
How do you use the apple cider vinegar? It's like a vinaigrette?
I use it in my warm water in the morning. That's the only way I use it, in warm water, first thing in the morning.
So about an ounce of vinegar to about 8 ounces of water?
That sounds right. That sounds right, yeah. And if it's too strong, like less is better, especially when you're starting out, because your body needs to get used to it. Yeah. Yeah. But it's very healthy for you. Yeah.
Yes.
Is that it? I think you're good, yeah? I think you're good. Thank you so much for your help. It was an absolute pleasure being here. Can I tell you, it's been amazing. And I love all